Hello and welcome to my video on Kerbal Space Program. Together today we're going to make it to Mun. It's very simple actually to make it to Mun when you know what you're doing. If you're new to the game, this video is for you. It will show you very quickly how to get there, hopefully. I'm not going to show you too much about the design of this ship, at least I'll try not to, because hopefully you've seen how to build ships. If not, I can easily make another tutorial video on how to do that. We're using very basic asparagus staging on the bottom with 6 tanks around the outside, and then moving to the inside we'll have 1 tank in the center, and then a second stage vertically up that way. And after that's all done, when we get all of our lifter rockets out of the way, we're just left with this very simple landing module with this big old head on the top that doesn't look phallic at all. So we'll go ahead with this launch. Alright, so we have Birkin Kerman and Berlin Kerman, both B. Kerman, strangely enough, about to take off and head for the Mun. So the first thing we were wanting to do before you take off is just take a quick look at your stages. Hopefully you've done that in the vehicle assembly building, but it's important to just take a quick look. So we have these going off with our thrusters, good, and then we have the asparagus staging, letting go of the tanks. We then have our second stage vertically going off, with the thruster going off when we let go. We then have, let's take a look here, make sure that this stuff is good, because this looks like it could be strange. We have 2 decouplers going off. What's going on here? Oh, okay, so we're getting rid of the bottom, and we're letting go of this stupid little top cap. Again, no reason to actually have these caps, just so you know. Aerodynamics in the game aren't actually fixed to let this help you at all. For some reason, when I was building this guy, which wasn't that recently, I just kind of loaded this up, I thought that this cap looked good, so we put it on there. Anyways, we'll let go of it on that stage, and then we'll go ahead with our last thrusters to touchdown. Very simple. So we'll go ahead now. The first thing you're going to want to do is press left shift to throttle all the way up to maximum throttle. Once you have maximum throttle, you'll go ahead and you'll hit the space bar, and when the space bar is hit, we'll see the first stage go off, which will be our main thrusters on the bottom, as well as the cranes that are holding us in place right now will let go, and we'll start flying up into the air. And as soon as we actually hit space bar, you will also hit T. Just as soon as you're clear of everything, you'll hit T to turn on your SAS, which will help you stabilize your flight. So we'll go ahead right now with our first stage. Easy as that. Now as soon as we get stable here, we'll hit the SAS button. And the reason why you don't want to hit SAS before you actually leave the launch pad is because sometimes you may have problems with the SAS being pointing down or sideways or wherever it is when it's wobbling while you're stationary. So go ahead and make sure that you just wait until you just start getting vertical and then turn your SAS on. At this point you might need to do some manual corrections in your flight, so just make sure you're watching your what's the word I'm looking for? Your artificial horizon on your nav ball here, just making sure that we're watching this, making sure it's going completely upwards. And this point looking directly up here is actually completely away from the planet, so we'll go ahead and hit our next stage button. And now stages are always controlled by spacebar. Every time you hit spacebar, you'll get to your next stage. So our first stage was letting go of the 2 fuel tanks there. So we've done that, and we're going to continue in our upwards trajectory, just completely away from the ground. You can see the ground going away from us now. It looks like we're moving at close to 200 meters per second away from the surface, which is good. We're going up to 8 kilometers now. Once we hit around 10 kilometers, we're going to go ahead and start doing what's called an orbital turn, I believe. I think that, or a gravity turn is what it's called. And what that means is we will be turning towards the direction that we'd like to orbit in. So in this case we're going to go east, which will be at this 90-degree marker on our nav ball. And actually I should have done that already, but I was talking. It's not a big deal when you do it. It just is a little bit more efficient if you do it around 10 kilometers. It's what I've been told. I'm not a doctor or anything. And in this case I should say I'm not an astronaut or anything. But anyhow, astronauts might have doctorates, who knows. So we're going to go ahead and just sit on this 90. The SAS should hold this in place, but just make sure you're making those course corrections just to make sure that you stay stable. If it does help you, you can also hit your E and Q keys to rotate so that you're, you can see nicely where you're going. So we can look around here. It just looks quite beautiful. We're going nicely, no problems to be seen yet, no major wobbling going on, and again, I said that I would talk to you in a later video about building, but right now we can see that these struts have really held us together, and it's the strutting that is really important when you're building. All the other stuff can be perfect, but if you don't have struts where they should be, you will get a lot of wobble, things will fall apart, and I had a lot of problems with that. That was mostly all the problems I had up until, recently. So just make sure that you're strutting a lot. And I do have time to talk about it right now anyways, because we're just flying here, we're just waiting essentially. So just make sure your struts are connected at all the points of your fuel tanks. Any separate fuel tank should be attached to other separate fuel tanks near to them. Anything structural should be attached to anything near it. And you just want to basically attach everything as much as you can. It doesn't matter if they look ugly. Like these guys up here look kind of ugly the way they're crisscrossed and everything, but it's just about finding the maximum amount of connections you can find that, are connecting things together. And then the other thing I noticed that helps is if you see these two fuel tanks, you think, oh, I connect here, but you can also connect this fuel tank straight to this one. And sometimes it won't even look like they're connected, but they do. Just click here, and you'll see, like, these ones here are most likely connections underneath the fuel tank, inside it, technically. So we're going to go ahead and knock these two stages off, well, this one stage, these two fuel tanks, and we'll go ahead and take a look at our orbit. So we'll go into M to see our orbit, and man, is cluttered it's cluttered around my planet, but it is what it is. I have a bit of a mess. I launched a few satellites. Recently I sent up a ship that had a bunch of probes on it, and I just shot them all off of the ship, and it was pretty cool. Right now we can see that our apoapsis, which is the highest point in our orbit, is at 476,000 meters. So about 476 kilometers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, so we'll go ahead and we'll grab this marker here, and just by clicking a point in your trajectory, it will allow you to create a go off in it so I can show you. So you see how this blue dot goes around? You click where the blue dot is, and bingo bango, you say add maneuver, and you can create a maneuver node. And what maneuver nodes let you do is they let you essentially play with, what if I do this? It shows you all the different burns you can make, all different directions of burns you can make, and then you can play with them and see what you get with the orange line without actually changing your trajectory, which is very helpful when you want to get things just right and you don't want to screw around. So essentially we just pull this out here, and we can see what will happen if we do this burn. So we can see that, and by hitting the period button on your number pad, if you have one of those, that's where my key is for it, you can pull up your nav ball even when you're in orbit, orbital view. So you can see here that I'm going to have to do this burn, I'm going to have to burn for 40 seconds. Which isn't optimal, but it's going to work. And the issue is that I was talking and we came out to like 476,000 meters, when really I should have probably stopped at around 100 or 200. I got a little carried away. So we're going to go ahead and go back into our normal view, and from here we'll turn on our RCS, turn off our SAS, and this will let us sort of move a little bit quicker when we're trying to find our maneuver node marker on our nav ball. And so what happens here, so we've set our maneuver node, right? It shows right here what time it is that we should start a maneuver node. It shows how long it's going to take. It's going to show this will go down as you finish your burn to show you when you should stop burning. All these things help you, and then also on your nav ball it will show a blue marker, which is the point in which you're going to need to burn when you get to said time. So we'll go ahead, we'll get locked onto this blue by turning on our SAS again, turning off our RCS so we don't waste any more monopropellant, And once we're pointing directly at it, we can go ahead and speed up time by hitting the period key and bring ourselves forward in time here from 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 0 minutes, and we can slow down, and then we can go up the seconds here, so we get to about 20 seconds is probably good. What you want to do is you want to have about half of your maneuver on the upside of your time that you want to start, and half of it after it. So what I mean is, if it says that I need to burn for 40 seconds, if it says node in minus 20 seconds, that means that if you burn for right then, you'd be burning for 20 seconds, and then after the 20 seconds are over, you still have 20 seconds left to burn, and it will go after the point, and it will just help you actually hit exactly what you wanted to do with your maneuvers, because the maneuver gives you a point in time in which you should start and a length of time in which you should burn. I don't know if I explained that as well as I could have, but hopefully you understand. So you can hit X to stop your thrusters completely instead of hitting Control to bring them down, and this will help you just stop directly when you want to when you're making maneuvers. You can see I still have a lot of fuel left. This is going quite well. So now we're actually in a nice, tall, stable orbit around Kerbin, and at this point we'll turn off this maneuver node, and we will attempt to get into the influence of the MUN. So we can see here this is our prograde vector, which means this is directly where we are going. If I burn towards it, it will extend the size of my orbit on the other side. So I'll go ahead and I'll burn towards it because I'm around my periapsis, the lowest point in my orbit. And we'll just watch this apoapsis grow. To be more efficient, and I could be wrong here, I again am not an astronaut, but I've found that to be a little bit more efficient, you can let your own speed sort of slingshot you around. So at this point I would stop burning, let myself do a full rotation, then when I get back to this point I burn a little bit longer when I get right at my periapsis. I believe this is true. Instead of just burning from your periapsis completely, it might save on some fuel, but right now we're doing pretty good for fuel. I'm not too concerned, so I'm just going to let it burn. We're just going to get right out until we're... Whoa, shoot. Oh, okay. Well, that worked quite nicely. So we just let it burn until we actually got close to this line here, which is the orbit of the MUN. And at that point, actually, we got lucky enough that we were just touching the MUN. Now, usually what I do to actually get this right the first try, instead of having to fiddle with trying to match up your orbit with it and all that, is if you aim about a quarter or so ahead of it, you will usually get in its orbit. This isn't a for sure thing, but it works, a pretty good amount of the time. So right now we can see that we actually have a encounter with the MUN, and that is shown by your orbit changing colors here. It also shows you when you begin being influenced by the MUN and when you stop being influenced by the MUN. And at this point, if I left things the way they were, you can see that we're gonna get encounter, we're gonna leave its encounter, and then because of the way its gravity impacted us, it would slingshot us right out into the solar system, which we don't want. So we're gonna come back here. We're going to come back, and we're going to actually change this just the slightest bit, because right now we don't have a very nice injection, which means injection into the MUNner gravity. However, this doesn't look awful. So what's going to happen is we'll come around here, we'll get sucked in, we'll go out like this. Right at this point here, we will add a maneuver. And what we're going to do at this point is we're going to burn retrograde, and I'll show you what's happening here. We'll burn retrograde and watch this come on in it comes, until eventually we will have a Kerbin, and then now a MUNner orbit. You can see this, if I pull out correctly here. It's kind of tough to see from this angle, but we'll actually be able to create an orbit around MUN. We have 80 and 50. That's super close. It's pretty dangerous, but we will attempt it because we are fearless Kerbins. So off we go. We'll go ahead and grab a view from the actual craft. That way we can actually watch the MUN approaching us here. or us approaching the Mun more like it. So we'll go ahead and fly away from Kerbal. Goodbye, Kerbal. I hope you enjoy your day. It's a beautiful day, isn't it, in space? And off we go. I'll go ahead and give you a view from the pod. You can do this by pressing C. This is one of our boys here sitting in the pod. There's another one out behind us here. If I hit V, I can see from his perspective. The pilot over there. I'm just sort of sitting back, probably taking care of some of the things that need to be done in this ship. Mostly just a passenger, it looks like. Anyhow, so we're getting closer here. You can go ahead and speed time up if you'd like. Now, something I would definitely tell you to be careful of is when you actually hit your injection and you become, what's the word I'm looking for? You become affected by the gravity of another object. It sometimes just sort of freezes the game up. So what I would recommend is actually slowing down the time warp right when you get to the point, so that you don't end up getting stuck in it and then all of a sudden flying past all sorts of stuff, flying past the maneuver node you needed to hit, and you'll actually see the freeze right here. It'll happen in just a second most likely. So we're going, and it's frozen. So it does this, and sometimes that can get you into a lot of trouble if you don't manage to stop it in time. So let's go ahead and take a look here. We can get a lot closer to what we want to do now. Now you can see this is super dangerous right now where this is. We're going to add a node out here. So we're actually going to take this away right now. We're going to add a node out here and burn forwards to give ourselves some space. Just because that was quite dangerous what we were dealing with a second ago. So from about 100, we'd be in a lot less danger of crashing into it or something like that. So we'll go ahead and we'll just give ourselves a more stable orbit here. So we've got 103 is what we're looking for. And we can see our burn point there at the blue marker in 21 minutes. So instead of waiting 21 minutes, because I know that video would be quite long, I'll go ahead and I'll just wait for it. We did go a couple minutes past it, but it's not actually a perfect science. We'll just go ahead, burn until our points look about the same. They look about the same. Perfect. So we'll close this. And now we'll go ahead and click on where our periapsis is. You always want to click on the periapsis to change your orbit so you can get around it. I'm not sure exactly why that is scientifically. All I know is that it works, so do it. Now we can create a nice stable orbit here. We got 115 and 104. Very nice. At this point we'll go ahead, turn on our RCS and turn off our SAS so we can quickly turn this big ship around. The problem is with big ships like this, they take a little bit longer to move. You need a lot of RCS thrusters and all that to be able to move them very easily. So we're just turning around, and we'll go ahead and we'll get locked on our blue marker here, and we have 1 hour to wait. So we'll go ahead and we'll skip through that as well. I'll go ahead and look at the Mun while we skip through it though, because it's kind of an interesting view usually. So here is the Mun, and here we go, going towards it, and we've got 30 minutes to wait. It's still. We're gonna go ahead and go a little faster and just kind of play around with your times here. Try and not go over the time. If you do, it's not a big deal usually if you're just a little over. So we'll go ahead and see, we've got 6 seconds left. We'll go ahead and we'll start burning. And you can watch this yellow bar go all the way down. Once it hits the very bottom of this bar, it means you're done thrusting and your maneuver is complete. So we'll wait, and boom, we ran out of thrusters. So it's saying, what the heck? We can't do this anymore. Well, that's fine. We'll go ahead and we'll unstage that, and we will finish this burn. Finishing the burn, and we are done. And we'll take a look at our new orbit, and looky, it's beautiful. If you want to create a more, what's the word I'm looking for? This is a pretty lopsided orbit. You can use these purple markers to actually change that, and you can fiddle with that all day, but I'm not going to bother with it today, so I'll turn this off just because we're going to do a very basic landing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the point on the back side of where we want to land. So if we want to land right here, we're going to take this point right here. At that point, we're going to add a maneuver node. We're going to burn retrograde, until we find our periapsis on the other side, which is the lowest point of our orbit, which will be where we're wanting to land. Get nice and low until we get to about 30 should be good. I can go even lower though. You can go as low as you dare, but you need enough room to land once you actually stop yourself. So I'm going to give you a little short course on aero braking here. So we're going to go to about 26. 26 seems good to me. So we'll go ahead with 26. And let's turn around here, find our blue marker. Should be on the other side somewhere here. There it is. So we'll just slow ourselves down. You can see we're actually moving a lot easier now, just that because we've lost that extra mass. Make sure you don't say weight in space, because everything is weightless in space. But it is still has mass. It still has mass. That's what I'm trying to say. So we have 23 minutes to wait now, so we'll go ahead and skip by this time here. Go to 10 minutes, and even less, and we'll stop right about, come on. With 10 seconds left, we'll stop. Okay. And at 2 seconds, or around 1 second, either way, we'll start burning. So we'll go ahead and burn. And it shows us we have 1 second left to burn, and we are done. And we'll close this, and we'll see what we did. Always important to check what you did. Don't just take it for granted that you did it correctly, because sometimes you get it wrong. So right now we're at 24, and you can see from here how close that is. I'll turn this off so you can see. See how close that is to the surface? That's what you're trying to do. Get nice and close, but not too close that you don't have room to adjust yourself while you're going downwards, but just so you're basically just soaring straight over the top. And the reason why we can do this is because there's no atmosphere. If you have atmosphere, things are going to be a little bit different. But that's for another video. So right now, we'll go ahead and we'll figure out how to land. We'll go ahead and get a better view, because this is going to be pretty sweet. We can actually turn ourselves right now to the prograde vector. And that's because when we come around on the other side, the prograde vector is going to be our retrograde vector. You'll see how that works. If we point ourselves this way and we spin around the planet, and this will essentially become our, the retrograde and prograde will spin. You'll see. Here we go. So we're going to go around here, and we'll just skip along our time, go to 100 times speed. Around the planet we go. Nice little eclipse on Kerbal there. Beautiful planet. Beautiful game, really. Okay, so you can watch your distance here. We're at 47. We want to look and wait till that gets to pretty much our lowest point, because that's what we planned for. We're going to wait till that gets around 20. You can see how close we are to this planet now. We are just soaring right above it. And keep going here until we reach 20. So along we go, 30, 29, 26, 25. Oh, looks like 25 is about the lowest we're going to go. See how the way it slowed down there? Okay, so this is going to be where we're going to start landing. Now, you can see, like I said, the retrograde vector did rotate over to our side because we went around the planet and stayed looking the same way. So right now we're going to go ahead, lock ourselves onto that. I'm going to change the camera by hitting V to go to free camera. Really helps out when you're trying to land to be able to see what you're doing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to burn retrograde. And right now you can see our retrograde vector is completely sideways to the planet. It's right on the horizon. And that's because we went so low that instead of falling towards it or anything like that, we're just skimming right across it. So we're able to just burn directly towards that retrograde vector to slow ourselves down to a halt. And you can see that by our speed relative to the surface. It says that we're moving less and less here. We're going to 180. Going down and down and down. We're just going to stop ourselves completely, basically. Okay, so we're at 70 now. Now we're going to see this actually just start drifting up, because essentially the gravity is just going to start pulling us down towards the planet because we have no sideways momentum. And by sideways I mean horizontal. I should use some more scientific words, really. If you just give yourself a slight little burn here, it'll keep that retrograde vector moving upwards. You just want to basically keep yourself trained on that on the retrograde vector. You're going to have to adjust that yourself. It's not going to stay on it by itself, so just make sure you use your WASD keys and just keep burning towards that retrograde vector. You want to do it nice and light now, because you've killed all your horizontal momentum. You're almost at a stop. So if you give yourself a big oomph of throttle, you're basically just going to start flying again. You're going to go up away from the mun, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble trying to land. It's going to be very difficult at that point. You want to go down. You just want to go down slowly. So once this is nice and controlled, which it is, you can actually turn it right off. You see how we're actually just basically falling straight down now? You can tell by the fact that this retrograde vector is pointing upwards. If it's pointing upwards, it means we're going downwards. Pretty simple. So we're going to keep going here. And it's going to hopefully go well. We still have these little baby thrusters. They're actually pretty decent thrusters, but we just don't have much fuel with them. So we have to make sure we're careful with what we're doing. And basically use this big thruster here as long as we can. Get as much use out of it as we can. Because there's no reason wasting fuel. If you've got it, you might as well use it. So, you know, we're still going to keep using it for a little while before we detach it, which is our next stage. We're going to detach this and this. I think we might actually just detach them now. You just don't want them getting in the way as well when you're landing. So we'll go ahead and we'll get rid of them just because we have a nice landing right now already. We'll go ahead and we'll slow ourselves down again, bring ourselves to about 50, and then we'll let go of these. So we're coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down, and we'll slow ourselves right down to 50. We'll stop it. Okay, we stopped it, and we're coming back up. Like, our speed's going to come back up again. And we'll go ahead and we'll detach these. And they're off. And now when I slow myself at all, you'll see this thing just sort of start coming away from me. So we'll go ahead with that. Boom. Okay, so it's away. My only concern is that it might be pretty much directly below us, but it should not be in the way when we land. Just because we'll shift, you know, small amounts up here, which will equal big amounts when we get near the ground. So we're just going to keep falling here. Very simple stuff at this point. Make sure you watch this speed. Right now we're still moving at 100, because up here it does not look like much, but we're still moving very, very fast. Right? Very important to remember that we're still moving quite quickly. So we have to make sure we just take her easy. Now, things that will help you land, if you put whoa, see, you got to watch out for stuff like that. See, I slowed down and it caught up. So you can injure yourself pretty easily if you're not careful. Use that stuff as a guideline. You can watch this stuff falling to the ground, and when it stops moving, it means it hit the surface. You know how far you have to go. There's lots of things you can use as indicators. I always now put lights on the bottom of my landing craft, because what it does is it usually shines the surface a little bit, and it helps, you know, if you have any sort of a dark landing, it is so difficult to land sometimes in the dark. So make sure you do that. You know, and that means that you'll need battery supply and everything else, but it is worth it. The other thing is obviously make sure you have landing gear. You control that by hitting G. We'll bring that out now. Now, if you do have any way of getting power on your ship, that being usually solar power, make sure you don't bring those out right now. Those solar panels can take a bit of a beating when falling or moving at all. So we're just going to keep going down here. Just keep on going down. Problem is there, I get talking and then I sort of forget what I'm doing. And I started going upwards again. Not a big deal though. We just slowed ourselves down. We're still falling. So if you give yourself just a tiny little bit of thrust, you can actually kind of control how fast you're falling. Right now we're sort of waiting till we find our shadow. When we find our shadow, we'll have an easier time landing for sure. And the way you make sure you can do that is by making sure the sun is actually on the side of the planet you're landing on, and that's all to do with just your own orbiting mechanics. You got to make sure you come down on the side that's light, or else you'll have a lot of trouble landing. I might see our shadow right now, but I might just see a rock. Yeah, I think it's just a rock. We're still actually a long ways off the surface. We're basically coming down at a nice controlled pace right now because I'm giving just a little bit of thrust, so you can see we're actually just gaining a little bit of speed at a time. And if I want, I can give myself just a little bit more thrust, so I start losing speed just a little bit at a time. Obviously, I did that a little bit too high. Okay, had a little technical difficulty, but we're still just coming down. Very simple. Keeping this nice and level, staying, now we're just speeding up just a tiny bit now. And soon we'll probably be able to see ourselves on the surface. like a shadow or maybe the lights, anything. You're just waiting to see some sign of yourself here. Just waiting to see something. Because this ground is so misleading. You can think that you're just a couple feet away and these are pebbles. Chances are they're boulders and you're actually still very far away. Okay, so there's our shadow. And there's our lights. See how that helps? So we'll slow ourselves right down. And so now we're just going to hover at about 10 until we get nice and close, and then we'll slow down even more. Okay, so we're slowing down even more. And then when we get right close, we're going to keep slowing down. You want to probably land at about between 5 and 3. So we're going to keep slowing down. 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. And we will run a little bit this way towards our retrograde to slow us from this little horizontal movement we've got going on right now. You can see we're still slowing down, still slowing down, still slowing down. As soon as you touch the surface, you're going to want to hit X. So off we go, and as soon as we get close, we'll hit X. And we'll turn off our SS and our RCS. And you have landed on the Mun. Very simple stuff, guys. As long as you just follow the steps, you can get there. And we'll go ahead and we'll EVA our crew here. Hop them off. And he's probably going to fall on his face. No, he didn't. He's skilled. And you can go ahead, right-click on your guy, and plant a flag on the Mun because you have made it. And everybody else sucks, and you're the best. And you can get your flag up, and we made it. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching my tutorial on how to get to the Mun. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And I hope you have a wonderful time flying. Goodbye, everybody.